Hello, welcome to Cardboard and Plastic. Today's video, I got a mail day, and in the background, if somebody came to my collection and said, show me all the cards you have from the 1930s, that is all I would be able to show them. And when I got back in the hobby, of course, you always start out with your childhood, right? I was a 90s, 80s collector. And then you just start going back into the 70s, the 60s. Then I got some 50s Bowman, right? Keep on going back. And there's just not a lot of cards in the 30s. I really didn't know a lot of the stories behind the players, right? You kind of like hear as a Yankee fan, Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, right? From the earlier days for the big stars. And really, the players don't have a lot of cards, and they're pretty expensive, right, for Joe DiMaggio. So, however, as I've been going back, of course, right, I started buying 52 Wheaties, and then I got that 19, I believe it's a 35 Wheaties, Gabby Hartnett. And these players, like Earl Averill, like 1933, the Gowdy, Carl Hubble, they just don't have a lot of mainstream type cards. And there's really not, right? I mean, 1933, 34 Gowdy. I don't even have a 34 Gowdy. I got to get one, right? And that's kind of my collecting strategy going forward, is to get at least like one Hall of Famer from each set, right? I got rid of all my T206s. I had a bunch of commons. I got rid of those. I just want to have one or a couple of Hall of Famers. By the way, you say one, and I just wanted one of these cards that I'm going to show you, and then I ended up with 5. So I'll kind of go through the little story about that. But some of these cards from the 30s, like the 1933 DeLong, the 1933 Tattoo Orbit, like there's like under like 100 for some of these cards in the pop reports, right, for these Hall of Famers. And that's PSA, SGC combined. Of course, there are a lot of raw cards out there, and I buy them. But I'm definitely going to try to get one of those. I mean, even like a mid-tier Hall of Famer, like even a lower Hall of Famer for a DeLong. I mean, you're talking $400 for something that doesn't look like it's been through the dishwasher. So I'm going to go through my mail day. And the first card, I think I got this for like $14 with shipping, taxes, everything. This is just kind of a filler for right now, for my Warren Spahn. I didn't have his 1960. Beautiful card, right? And this is like one thing about ungraded cards. There's a lot of them out there. And don't be afraid. Like, I think a lot of people scare you into grading by saying like, oh, like when you pass away, when you die, like your family's going to be stuck with all these. They're going to be worth nothing. They're just going to give them away. You have to have graded cards so they can go to eBay. They can sell them. There's a company called Greg Morris Cards. And my wife is instructed, if I pass away, not planning on it, but if it does happen, right? I told her, get my binders, get all my raw cards. I have a lot of nice ones. Contact Greg Morris Consignment. Send them to Greg Morris. They'll take care of it for you, right? They charge 25%, but they get really good prices on the cards there. And if you have cards that are beautifully centered, look great, have great registration, and they go on Greg Morris cards, they're going to sell for a lot of money. And by the way, people say, like, well, when Greg Morris goes away, if a company like that goes away, there's going to be another company for ungraded cards that comes through that people are going to trust and pay a premium for, right? So I'm not worried about that. I think way too many people kind of get scared by the value of their cards, and they're going to be worthless if they don't have a number attached to them. So, what cards did I buy? Let's get into the mail day. So, I always tell everybody the first time I buy a card, I need the card to be ungraded, or I try to, right? There's certain cards that I will, like for the first time, just buy it graded, especially if we're talking like $1,000, $2,000 card. But this card right here, and I just wanted like one of these beautiful 1934 to 36 diamond stars, right? So a lot of people have been talking about this set. Beautiful cards, and the first time I get one of these cards, right, I love to get a loop, take a look at the printing, how they printed the cards. Of course, right, you can smell the card, you can actually get a better feel of like what the actual condition is for the cards. And this beautiful Bill Terry, and there's a couple of Hall of Famers that I really want in the set, right? And if we talk about like Hall of Famers, there's people like Carl Hubble, right? But then we have Earl Averill, and he was a Veterans Committee, I believe, right? So different levels of Hall of Famers. And one that I liked from the set that I really wanted, that I thought was a beautiful card, was the Pie Trainer. And the Pie Trainer was, like, I kept on looking at them. There was like graded and raw cards, like in the $100 to $150 range. And they all looked gross to me. They were horrific looking. And then I saw this one pop up in auction, and I bid on it. Somebody else bid on me, so I wasn't the only one. And then I got it. And ignore the sticker price. I paid like $100 less than that. But this is the this is an authentic minimum size not met. So it is short left to right. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that card's trimmed. By the way, this card, I took a look at SGC. They're high quality images. Like some of this, there's like a little bit of blurriness in these Pie Trainers. This card is absolutely like flawless. Just a gorgeous card, even on the back. And I'll get into a little gripe I have about, I'm glad that SGC is at least transparent enough to just not throw an A on there and actually like tell you, right, that this card was cut short. They don't believe it's trimmed, right? By the way, there's trimmed cards that are of actual size. So you probably have some trimmed cards in your collection, or cards with Kurt's character card juice there. And it is what it is in the hobby. When people can actually try to make money off of cards, they're going to try to do some stuff. So you just got to try to enjoy the hobby as best you can. But for me, even though it's a minimum size not met, the just the image of the card is just beautiful for me. So it was worth that. And I would be happier with that card than spending $125 on a 1.5 or a 2 that looks like it went through the dishwasher. So I was kind of done at this point, right? You know, I got kind of like 2 cards I wanted. Let's move on to the next set, right? Let's get like a Tattoo Orbit, DeLong. Let's get the next card. But then, of course, you follow things on eBay, and then a really good deal comes up. So for $120, there was a seller that had 3 more cards, a lot. And I'll show you a few of them. Right, so these are the three. And they listed the cards, and they were very accurate in their description of condition, right? So I was actually pretty shocked. The images were pretty bad, but you take a risk. $40 each for these guys. And I got 3 more Hall of Famers. So the Sam Rice, and the big issue with this card, right? We have some wrinkling there, but it doesn't go to the front, right? I mean, it's dirty, right? I think Kurt could clean that up pretty good if I wanted him to maybe get rid of some of those wrinkles in the back. But the thing about these cards are, I mean, they're from the 1930s, right? It's kind of like, I got this card, I like it just as much as I like that card that, this is looks like it just came right out of the pack from the 1930s. It time traveled, right, to this era. So I have that one. This is probably the nicest one in the lot, even though the centering's the worst. A beautiful Ted Lyons. I don't believe he was a Veterans Committee, but I believe that he holds he's the only Hall of Famer that actually has more walks than strikeouts for a pitcher. So, get that. Gotta make room to show all these off. And then the last one, kind of made me happier with the purchase of the Pie Trainer. And the reason for that, and I'll take this guy out, and this is part of what I like about these vintage cards. Right? I'm holding a piece of cardboard from 1935. And this card, another Earl Averill there. So, not a lot of cards there. Might go on his whole player run there. But, right, not perfect. By the way, right, we have a little a little surface wrinkle that goes there. You're going to find that on cards from this age. But the thing about this card is when you hold it up to another card, and I measured it up, this card would grade a minimum size not met if I sent it to SGC. This card is short, just like this, side to side. And I checked this out. This card is not trimmed. I looked at all the actual edges. You can tell if you handle enough cards with the age. And this card, right, is not really a grade candidate, right? And I'm not going to spend $15 each to grade these cards. These cards, right? I mean, it's a $40 card, right? That's what these things are. Well, that's why I paid for it, and that's all I care about, right? But if you don't have one of these 34, 36 Diamond Stars, I would pick one up. And, if you just want to pick up a card of each, right? I mean, I'm just as happy with this off-centered 1960 Warren Spahn, just a beautiful card. And that is kind of with collecting. I know we see a lot of people out there and just your budget, right? If you have $20 a month to spend on cards, you can go on ComC, get some beautiful, amazing cards, right? Get a binder together. I think we're seeing all of these YouTubers out there, and I'm very fortunate. What I'm doing is I'm selling cards to afford these cards, right? So I got kids going to college. I can't be spending $2,000-$3,000 on a card. My daughter's going to start driving this week, which scares me out of my mind. But with, right, your finances, right, to afford this, right, I'm doing things. Actually, I made over $1,000 buying and selling Panini NFTs of bad eggs it's kind of like pictures of like egg humans or things like that, kind of like a Humpty Dumpty type thing. I have no idea. I bought packs for $15, selling them for $45. It blows my mind. But yeah, I'm going to take all that money and put it towards some big cards, right? So I'm doing things, right, for my hobby to afford these cards, but I can't just take my paycheck into pieces of cardboard like this. And if I want a nicer card, I got to go through my collection, maybe make a decision, right? Do I want to sell this card, get rid of it, to get something else? And fortunately, with my grading, I added a lot of value to the cards, so I can definitely do that. Now, the last thing I just want to talk about is this minimum size not met. Now, I'm not afraid to buy these cards. Actually, like some sets, right? If I buy a 1955 Bowman, Hank Aaron, I think I am just going to buy it as minimum size not met. I mean, you got cards that look amazing for half the price, and they go for like cards that are ones. And if you look on SGC, like for authentic for 1955 Bowman, like they are cut all over the place. Especially, I have a bunch of them, right? I mean, like some are shorter, longer, like they are cut not even close to being uniform. So that really gives me confidence, right? Especially like holding cards like this, you can compare and contrast and like, they were cut small, cut large. But with this card, I really wish that they gave more information, right? We pay $15, $20 a card, and SGC is really the only company that like goes through and like they'll give you a note right on the slab, which is very appreciated. However, this card would get this if it was in this condition, or if it was like this but was creased in half, right? Both of those would get the same minimum size not met. And I think we give Mike Baker with his stickers a really hard time in the hobby, and I think we should. But with his new grading company, he actually does something that I appreciate. He has cards that are minimum size not met, and he puts it there so he doesn't believe that there's trimming, and right, they don't believe that this card is trimmed. Now, could it be trimmed? Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. But with Mike Baker, he actually puts the minimum size not met, but he also gives it a grade, which I think is important, right? It kind of will tell you the condition of the card and its minimum size. So he gives a lot more information. But, I mean, for $15, $20, we need more than that for information, right? They should give us a paragraph about our vintage cards. And I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more for, right, the grading. If it costs like $15, $20, right, and you get a note, well worth it. It does take more work to grade these vintage cards, right? You got to really see, like, are they trimmed? These surface wrinkles, right? They're hard to find, right? So you put a lot of work in there as a grader. But really, for how much we pay, there should be a little paragraph, right? Like wrinkle on bottom right. Just like not even like a couple sentences can really help the buyer and feel more confident about your purchase, especially in this online environment where a lot of people buy cards, right? If I had a wrinkle, right, just like this, right, there's the wrinkle that goes like right there, right? Almost like through his face, right? Now, the thing is, it's hard to see, but if you get the card and you don't like that, you can't see it from an image, especially a scan. So, in the comments below, let me know how many cards from the 30s you have if you are kind of a newer collector like me, just got back in the hobby. Some of you, I don't want to hear how many cards from the 30s you have because it kind of depresses me, but I think a lot of us, right, myself now, right, I'm up to 8. And I'm going to try to add some more. as I go through my collecting, and definitely I got to get a T206 Hall of Famer, T205 Hall of Famer, right? And that's where my collection is really going. Just getting like one nice card from each set, but then you go down the rabbit hole, right? You get one Diamond Star, you get a second one, and then a deal passes right on eBay. Like you can't pass that deal up. So I hope everybody has a great day. And as always, keep on collecting.